CGTN's Hendrik Sybrandy is in Sutherland Springs, and he's joining us now. Hendrik, authorities don't believe this was a random act of violence. What are they saying?
Well, Mike, they are learning more about the shooter Devin Kelly's past. And one thing that's coming out tonight, multiple reports that the Air Force, the U.S. Air Force, failed to report his domestic violence conviction back in 2012. That failure to report allowed him, first of all, caused him to be kicked out of the service, but also allowed him to buy 4 different weapons over the past several years. One of those weapons was an assault rifle that he used to shoot up the church behind me. It is clear now that terrorism played no role in Sunday's attack. Rather, it was some kind of a domestic conflict within his family, possibly with his mother-in-law, that led him to do what he did. Outside First Baptist Church, members of the Federal Bureau of Investigation combed a field looking for evidence possibly connected to the shootings. The process of reconstructing Sunday's events has just begun.
Our church was not comprised of members or parishioners. We were a very close family. We ate together, we laughed together, we cried together, and we worshiped together. Now most of our church family is gone.
Authorities say the suspect, identified as 26-year-old Devin Kelly, arrived at the church during Sunday services wearing tactical gear and carrying an assault rifle.
He was wearing a black mask that had a white skull face to it. Then he drove across to the church, and that's when he exited the vehicle and started the shooting.
Once he was inside the building, members of the congregation were defenseless. There was no way for them to escape.
There was some length of time that the subject spent inside that church in a shooting event. He moved around freely inside the church, but I'm not going to get into his exact dynamics within the church.
The suspect exited the church, exchanged gunshots with a local resident, then got in his vehicle and sped down the highway. Another car gave chase. He didn't make it very far.
The other gentleman who's a member of this community came, jumped in my truck and said, he just shot up the church. We got to go get him. And I said, okay, let's go.
Shortly after the high-speed chase began, the suspect's vehicle crashed into a ditch. Authorities believe he died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Johnny Langendorf said he did what anyone in his position would have done.
That's the bottom line, is that he needed to be stopped. He was stopped, and he's not going to hurt anyone else ever again.
Investigators say they've ruled out terrorism or any kind of racial or religious motivation for the attack.
Everybody wants to know is, why did this happen? It's a senseless crime, but we can tell you that there was a domestic situation going on within this family. The suspect's mother-in-law attended this church.
He says he sent her threatening text messages. Investigators say Kelly displayed a pattern of domestic violence over a period of years. He was discharged from the U.S. Air Force for assaulting his wife and child. Among the 26 victims at the church was Annabelle Pomeroy, the pastor's 14-year-old daughter.
As senseless as this tragedy was, our sweet Belle would not have been able to deal with losing so much family yesterday. Please don't forget Sutherland Springs.
Right now, our hearts are going out to all the family members that have lost family or have family in the hospital. Thank y'all.
Now, 15 30-round weapons magazines were recovered here at the scene, along with hundreds of shell casings. This is a comprehensive investigation, needless to say. We're also learning that the shooter, Kelly, shot himself in the head on Sunday. He also sustained 2 other gunshot wounds in that confrontation outside of the church before he sped down the highway here. Meantime, there are 10 people still in the hospital with injuries, or 10 critical injuries, I should say, along with 4 serious injuries. So a number of people are not out of the woods yet by any means. So just a terrible tragedy. A lot of grief continues here in this community. Mike?
No doubt about it. Hendrik Sybrandy live for us there in the U.S. state of Texas.